Alright, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a bit of a different video for you guys. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 movies of 2023. Alright, so the year of 2023 has been stacked with a lot of good movies. We've had very great animated films, not just movies, but even TV shows. This was like a renaissance year for animation in general. Top tier animation from Eastern animation to Western animation. But today specifically, I'll be talking about movies specifically from mostly Hollywood, I guess. I'll feature other foreign films as well in this on my list here, but most of them will be Hollywood movies. With that said, let's dive right into it. Okay, so my 10th best film of the year will have to be The Boy and The Heron. Okay, this is Miyazaki's latest film, and I really have to say I found the animation beautiful when I saw this in cinemas. It's hand-drawn animation. It features a very fantastical story that was very magical and very different from what I have seen for most of the year. It's definitely worth the watch. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend that you go see it. It's an odd one in the sense that it can feel less tangible than most of my other choices on this list, but I still think it's worth every moment of it. It might be a tough plot for some people to come around to. It might require a couple of watches, but I think it's absolutely head on in terms of the messages it goes for. It has a lot of it's self-referential to the author's work, Miyazaki himself, and in that sense, I think, and not just that, you can glean more meanings from it depending on how you want to analyze it. And I just think it's a delightful movie, very fresh take, and very very creative. I would definitely recommend people go see that if they haven't seen it. Okay, my ninth best film of the year is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. All right, this was a fantastic conclusion to an epic story for Star-Lord and his crew. I just thought James Gunn did a fantastic job rounding out the story. It's quite a difficult watch with the whole animal torture aspect to it, but overall I thought it had a lot of heart, a lot of joyful moments we felt. It was bittersweet in the end, and I thought he did a good job wrapping up the storylines of all these characters, from Gamora to Star-Lord himself, and just a wonderful movie. It's painful but a wonderful movie. So in general, it lands in my ninth spot for the year. Okay, my next movie is Talk to Me. This is a very interesting one. I had heard about this movie for a while, and I've been wanting to watch it. I just recently got to watch it, and it is one of the best horror that I've seen all year. It's not quite at the level of, say, Ari Aster's Hereditary or Midsommar, but I have to put this on here. I just felt like it was a very solid effort and worth checking out for anyone who's interested. I thought it was well written, very solid direction, especially for a pair of first-time directors. I was just thoroughly impressed when watching this, and I would definitely recommend this to anyone for sure. This was a fantastic watch for me. It's short and sweet. It's less than 1 hour 40 minutes, and I mean, by the way, all horror movies usually tend to be short anyways, but it's a nice short movie in the sea of long movies that we have these days. So I would definitely recommend this for anyone to go check it out if you're into horror and all that stuff. Very creative too, from the premise to just how the story unfolded. All right, my next best film of the year, this lands at the number 7 spot for me, is The Creator. Okay, so The Creator for me is an odd one. This one kind of divided audiences. Initially, when it came out, there's a lot of buzz for it, but over time, people, came out of the woodworks and said, well, it's not quite what we thought. It wasn't that good. It didn't live up to expectations. I, however, disagree with that opinion. I thought it was a fantastic film for what it was. And overall, it was just a very, very interesting take on the whole idea of, it was an interesting commentary on American imperialism, also provided nice insights on AI, and not so much, it didn't really focus so much on the AI, but it provides some insight on this AI. But I thought where it really stood out was a commentary on American imperialism, and with the whole idea of America being the ones invading. Those allegories to the Vietnam War and stuff like that. And overall, I just found it very delectable, especially what we're able to accomplish on such a much smaller budget. It's a very good looking film for how that price is, about 80 million as a budget, and I just thought it was delightful. It didn't make a lot of money at the box office, and it has middling reviews from most from critics. I mean, most critics liked it, but for the most part, it's middling. It was sitting at 60, but I absolutely adore this film. I went to see this 3 times in theater, and I would recommend it for anyone to go check it out. I have a feeling that this film will become a science fiction cult classic in the future. I just feel it right there. Like people are slipping on this one, but overall, this one lands at the number 7 on my list of top 10. Okay, my sixth favorite film of the year is Saltburn. Okay, so I've been dying to see this film, and I absolutely thought it was delight. It's a very weird and strange story in the sense that it's an odd story. It's a story about obsession. It's also kind of it gave me a sort of the Knives Out Glass Onion vibe, but also being a character study on obsession and a commentary on wealth, power in society overall. I thought the director did a fantastic job. It's also very stylized in the way it's directed, so that made it a very interesting watch. And overall, I just thought it was a delightful story watching all of this unfold. Odd, strange, all the weird scenes that were in there, from the bathtub scene to the scene that happens outside on the chair between two characters in the story. It was just, the director went out there, and I really appreciate that. For that, this movie lands on my 6th spot for the year. So my 5th best movie of the year is Oppenheimer. I really enjoyed this movie. I went to see this movie, even though it was 3 hours long. I went to see it 3 times in theaters. That's how much I liked it. It's very fast paced. It's a biopic that's edited in the style of an action movie. Even though it's 3 hours, it's kind of paced very incredibly fast. Sometimes that was a little to my dislike, but overall, it's a very, although it's 3 hours, and some people might be discouraged by that, but it is a very fast-paced film, and that contributed to his commercial success that he had alongside Barbie. And I thought that was really fantastic. It follows the journey of Oppenheimer, being an in-depth character study on Oppenheimer himself. Some people were expecting it to be about the atomic bomb, but it really focuses on J. Robert Oppenheimer and his... and it's more so about the consequences of the things that we create. And I just found this to be a delight in his earnest character study of Robert Oppenheimer. And I liked the attention to detail and the focus on keeping history as accurate as possible. That was a very nice touch as well. My 4th best film of the year is Dungeons and Dragons: Honors Among Thieves. So this is kind of like my second surprise movie of the year. I saw the trailers and I was a bit iffy on it. I wasn't even sure I was going to see it. And it was sometime in March, and I was looking for something to go watch in theaters. I was like, I'll give this Dungeons and Dragons movie a try. Let's see what it's all about. And what I was not prepared for was how much I was going to enjoy it. It's a very it's a fantasy, but in a way with a lot of heart to it. Very interesting direction on the movie. An epic blockbuster. It's only, and they only filmed it for like north of $100 million. And I just thought that what they did in the film was fantastic overall. It's funny, it's charming, it's heartwarming. The story is great. The characters are likable. I hope they make a sequel for this movie. I loved it. I went to see this film 3 times in theater, and I watched it on Netflix when it came out with my siblings because I just love this film. It's just one that's rewatchable. It has such great rewatchability. And Chris Pine was hella funny in this movie too. So if you haven't seen Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, do yourself a favor and watch that film. Criminally underrated. I know it flopped no, I wouldn't say flopped, but it didn't perform as expected in the box office, but this one was really fantastic. So overall, this one lands my 4th best movie of the year. Okay, my 3rd best film of the year has to go to another surprise film that came out of nowhere for me, Godzilla Minus One. I think this one came out from nowhere for everyone. It wasn't on my radar. I didn't even watch the trailers. A bunch of people saw it, and I kept hearing rave reviews about it from critics and friends alike. And I said, what is this all about? I'm going to check it out. And I went to see it, and lo and behold, one of the best films I've seen all year. It was so good. It made such an impression on me that it went all the way up to I had it somewhere at the 9th spot, but after going for a rewatch, it went all the way up to 3rd spot in my top 10. And I could not be more delighted that this film came out this year. The monster in Godzilla Minus One is very frightening and threatening. But beyond that, the human story is one for the ages among all the monster films. And this serves as a reminder to Hollywood that, they don't have to slack on the more so bigger films in the sense that, they'll just put together anything and people show up. The movie really took its time to show care for constructing the story, and I'm really impressed with what they were able to accomplish with $15 million. Japan this year really put out some bangers in the box office. I was really proud of them when I saw that this film, as well as Boy and The Heron, had the #1 spots at the box office back-to-back weekends, and well deserved. A fantastic film in its own right, and I recommend everybody go see it. It's a fantastic entry point for anyone who has never seen a Godzilla movie. It stands on its own, and it's just a great spectacle. Great character study. All the characters were interesting, and I saw it in sub, so I can't say if the dub is good enough, but I would recommend the sub. That's what I saw, and I would definitely recommend this film. This was, for me, like a 9.5 to a 10 out of 10 film. Absolutely amazing. So for that, it lands my number 3 spot. Killers of the Flower Moon. This is my number 2 film of the year. Okay, so this film, although it's 3.5 hours and that could scare a lot of people, I thought it was worth it, honestly. It's a little more slower pace because it is dealing with very heavy and mature subjects that pertain to real life stories of the characters featured, specifically Molly. I just thought it was a really great, in-depth, deep dive into the atrocities that happened to the Osage people. One criticism I had for the film that didn't put it at the #1 spot for me was that it wasn't told entirely from Molly's perspective. But other than that, I thought it was a very fantastic movie. I wish, again, it was still told mostly from Molly's perspective, but I understand. It was told kind of from the antagonist's perspective, which was Eckhart and his uncle. But for the most part, I enjoyed it. It's a very harrowing story, painful to watch, and at the end of the 3.5 hours, you'll be emotionally drained when you're done watching this movie. So even though this flopped at box office, this is absolutely one of the best movies of the year. I do not care. A fantastic movie. Martin Scorsese was at his zenith when making this. I absolutely adore this film. And to think in his 80s now, because the stuff is putting out, like the consistency throughout his career is incredible and something that I feel all filmmakers should strive to. So overall, I would definitely recommend Killers of the Flower Moon to anyone who's willing to go see it. But it's still not my #1 of the year. My #1 for the year is a little animated film called Across the Spider-Verse. Wow, what a film. This is an 11 out of 10 film for me. I know some people had some issues with it being a part 1 of 2 and not having what they call a definite conclusion. I would disagree with that because I felt this movie, as much as the entire story, the SpiderVerse films, is Miles' story, I felt this movie specifically focused on Gwen, and she was a central character for this film. And overall, she had a complete arc, realizing she had wronged someone, wanting to right that wrong, and also not being able to fit in, and then making her own group instead of her trying to fit in with another group, came together beautifully. So even if we didn't get the overall ending from Miles, who's the main character on his main arc, I thought it was a really fantastic job what it did throughout the runtime of this movie. It's nearly 2 hours and 30 minutes, one of the longest animated films ever, but it absolutely earns that runtime. Fantastically paced, vibrant art style. Each frame of this film is a painting of its own. Like, it's incredible what they were able to achieve with this film. I must also acknowledge that they pushed the animators a lot to know how to accomplish this. So I really hope that changes, that animators are able to get fair treatment. And going forward, especially beyond the Spider-Verse, they take as much time as needed and not force the animators to crunch and be pretty much lifeless. But that aside, this movie is truly a marvel. It's a miracle this movie exists. It's so good. And I think this and Into the Spider-Verse, once Beyond the Spider-Verse comes, if it's even remotely as good as the first 2 movies, Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, we might be looking at some of the greatest trilogies of all time, period. Not just for an animated movie, but for a movie of all time. Right up there with Lord of the Rings and the rest. But what an incredible film. I feel like I'm rambling on about it. But thank you guys for listening to my opinions. Let me know your lists down in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Till then, bye-bye.